I'm Nadey Hakim. I've been approached by the University of Bolton, and more specifically by the Vice Chancellor, Professor George Holmes, to produce 5 sculptures. Now, this task is not easy because 4 out of the 5 people I am sculpting are not living anymore. So therefore, I have to rely on either pictures or paintings. The idea was not just to reproduce the likeliness of the person, but to try to find out what the character of that person is and what they were remembered for. I'm very honored to be part of that project so that you can remember those 5 gentlemen for many generations to come. When I was asked to do the sculpture, the bust of Dr. Chadwick, all I was given is a couple of pictures. I knew he was a doctor like myself. He was a philanthropist, bringing him back to life almost 150 years later. It is a superb feeling, I have to say. I'm very fortunate. Leonardo da Vinci once said, "A sculpture is never completed. A sculpture is abandoned." I'm done. I'm not touching him. This is for me, Dr. Chadwick, and I'm stopping at that. This is Peter Ormond. He was born in 1796. He was the son of a banker, the banker who started the Bank of Bolton. The Bank of Bolton eventually became part of NatWest Bank. Peter Ormond donated £45,000 at that time to the construction of the church, and £45,000 at that time is equivalent to £5.5 million of today's money. He's got a serious look. As a banker, I believe this is quite common. Not much of a smile here, and I think this is what I tried to depict in that particular sculpture. This is Thomas Markland, benefactor, a philanthropist. He left school at age 14 and eventually became the head of a company, a steel company. He was a benefactor. He donated money to build this church, and this is why he will end up being in this church for many years to come. And what's interesting is that this gentleman, Mr. Markland, used to own the house which is now owned by the Vice Chancellor, Professor Holmes. Having him in front of you, remember how that owner used to look like well before Professor Holmes. James Slade went to Cambridge. He studied mathematics before he entered the church, and eventually he became the vicar of the Bolton church over 200 years ago now. And as you can see, unlike the current vicar, he did not smile much. 250 years ago, the vicar had certainly much more authority than what we have now. And this is what I really wanted to show, this authority, firmness, at the same time, I'm sure deep inside, a lot of kindness. And it's important to note that the Reverend had made major contribution to the education of the people of Bolton. Out of the 5 sculptures I've done, This is the one of Reverend Canon Chris Bracegirdle. He's the only one who is alive. The reason why I chose him smiling is that the pictures I was sent, because I never met the Reverend, he smiles in all the pictures. You can tell, looking at him, that he is a very joyful person and indeed a very nice person. And when you look at the smile of Reverend Chris Bracegirdle and compare it to the inexistent smile of Reverend Slade, you see that maybe over the 200 years people started smiling a bit more. Now people say the reason why people didn't smile 200 years ago because their teeth were not in very good shape. Maybe this is the reason. I have to say the teeth of the Reverend are in excellent shape. Today is a great day because whatever I've worked on for the last few months, producing the clay of those 5 portraits, is going to be transformed today into bronze. And that sequence of transformation is the fruit of my hard work. When I woke up this morning thinking about my visit to the foundry, I was really excited. The foundry is a bit like a monastery where monks are going to be producing magic. The foundry will be producing a mold out of the clay I've done. And this is a bit like a positive out of a negative. One of the steps is to produce a wax copy of the clay. But the wax will be there for only a few days because ultimately it is bronze which is going to be the final product, and bronze will be there forever. When I see the bronze, which is melted bronze, being poured into the mold, is by itself incredible. And you see the sparkles, you see the light, and it's such a beautiful sight. Now that the sculptures have been completed, the next step is going to be moving them to Bolton to be placed at the Bolton Church, where they will be immortalizing the 5 individuals I've sculpted who represent the distinguished philanthropists for that church.